to replace and substitute this fossil fuel and reduce carbon production. So what we've noticed is that they are the largest producers of acai, and the seed was or buried somewhere, and it's a little bit responsible, and we are a little bit responsible of what we don't do about this, and this causes a little debt. What we've been doing is we've been collecting all of those seed cooperatives that work with that, and they dry all the seeds and turn them all into energy and fuel. In 2010, we are going to use and consume more than 2 tons these seeds. If we count and consider the reduction in carbon this produces, we end up reducing about 120 tons of CO2. And if I consider only the direct emission, also the indirect emission due to the degradation of the seed, we can include about 200,000 tons of carbon emission. So this idea is strategic for Votorantim, and we really would like to escalate this and look into other chains and give proper worth to this opportunity. We are also looking into helping those communities with a strategy. There are advantages because we are reducing production waste in our plants. 80% of the thermal consumption of all the fuel that is produced in our plants is now coming from the acai seeds. This is very significant for the production in a small project, but we are into exploring and looking into that potential and income generation that comes from babaçu oil production, and also using the leftovers of babaçu to produce something as fuel for our plant. Brazil has the potential to explore such diversity. There are some papers that mention all the many products that have a lot of attention, and they come from the Amazon, like the acai, anjiroba, buriti. These are chains that have a lot of potential to be explored. We have to look into valuing and into valuing these waste that comes from these chains of production. This is what we've been doing lately. In your words, milestones, you'll see that it is possible. And in the Amazon, they see we want to show them that they can use the forest to help them out in their goals. Instead of earning money deforesting, you can do something else and use the forest on your behalf. There are some carbon credits from the Amazon that are not being captured. In the Intergovernmental Forum of Sustainability, these numbers were disclosed, and these children need to be prepared for the market. And if they become teenagers who can develop, they will automatically be able to contribute into supporting sustainability in their areas. An isolated action is not going to continue. Of course, it has its value, but this is not going to be perennial. This is why I'm telling you this story, We have the digital class project implemented, and this ensures that carbon emissions are being neutralized. And of course, apart from other initiatives that we have, and the processing of waste, for example. But we have never consumed so much technology as before. We are investing in this line of recovering these assets, and all of these is reinvested in social projects. There is no profit from such actions. We reinvest everything into social initiatives. We invest into teacher training and technological preparation of our children, because they're going to be more connected and more digital, because we believe that the digital world is going to promote a more sustainable possibility for children and everyone. The air of Sao Paulo has never been cleaner than this. People are using technology much more because they are working remotely. So with this in mind, this is why the digital project is in place with the children, working with the state. This is not an isolated action. We always work together to strengthen this project and this initiative. This is part of a public policy in the area of education. And this is preparing children for the hyper-connected and digital world. And we believe we are also contributing with our planet and with the preservation and with the conservation of the Amazon, with the ability to judge and understand and to be more prepared to explore the forest potential without having to deforest it. Fantastic, Americo. I knew a bit of your story, but I've already sent a WhatsApp now just to verify our phone contract, because we are about to change that. This is great. This is an excellent job you were doing there. 5 years ago, I visited a familiar school in Pará, close to the city of Altamira. It was a very small school, and there was just a small road that crosses the city, that town. I had never seen principals and teachers and students so eager to learn the way I saw when I went there. Probably August or September, some 5 years ago. Access to technology and the human potential from the Amazon needs to be developed. Of course, technology is an essential tool, and I congratulate you and applaud you, and I applaud you. This is fantastic, Americo. This gives us the strength to keep going. Now I'm leaving the services sector and I'm getting to you, Denise. Denise Hills is the global head of sustainability for Natura. And Natura needs no further introduction. Sustainability is in Natura's DNA, and we were born like this. Natura's success today gives us the dimension of how large this potential is. Can you see Brazil embracing this potential the way Natura managed to do? We still have time to go after all the opportunities. First of all, I'd like to thank you because of as an initiative just like Possible Amazon. If you look into the business side, we can share practices, talk about innovation and technology. And in order to follow such path, we have to make a few mistakes on the way during the years, but everything now is catalyzed and we need to turn everything else into a reality now. More than ever, this is an example that needs to be followed. We need to reconcile economical development and conservation and positive impacts. And I'm going to talk about innovation and education both models from Americo and from Fabio, this network approach can promote more business opportunities, and it's also quite the opposite, not just reducing impact, they are regenerative. And for this reason, they bring more results. I'm going to talk about one of them. For example, when we talk about biomass, and when he talks about that at Votorantim, if you use a product that has a sub-product, just like açaí does, you see where a sub-product could be an efficiency for another company. The more we have technology, more alternatives we have to implement. Sometimes we have to respect the whole picture. We sometimes don't understand how one story had one school generated changes. There are seasons in which sometimes it works for one side, but for other people it's not going to. Showing this possible Amazon to Brazil to everyone and develop this business network and apply this to an escalation that is necessary. It is important. It needs to happen. And in the business sector, with investors and consumers, people play an important role in accelerating this agenda. I'm going talking about Natura. One of the most iconic brands from Amazon is Ecos. We have a program, Amazonia, that develops bioeconomy and develops sustainable development in the region. What are we talking about? More than 2.8 millions
2.4
in
billion of volumes in
generated
business in the
business.
region. We're talking about 1.8 billion hectares preserved. Arising from this work, the existence of this business model while preserving that many of these projects are, by the way, projects that within a carbon compensation platform that started between Natura and Itaú many years ago, generates resources for Amazon preservation. A great deal of that is conservation and restoration projects where we captured from this compensation value today. So we're talking that in 20 years of ECOS, 10 years of the Amazon program, we have a reality that through the work of knowledge, of technology, and biodiversity, it is nearly nothing near compared to the information you brought up. So this is great importance. Importance to say that yes, there is the standing forest business. There is an example I like very much, which is one of Anatura's most important assets, which is Gluba. Gluba is a tree that was sold in 1990s, was on the list of extinct trees from Ibama. It was sold to make sweep poles for 10 reais. Well, in raw, there's equivalent to 100 reais if everything goes wrong, if it doesn't rain, and so on and so forth. So while developing understanding with benefit partition, traditional knowledge, the whole power of this bioasset, we have one cosmetic active principle and a whole line that competes and is one of the most powerful moisturizing butters in the world. And we distribute value with micro refineries, creation of communities, not a chain of suppliers, but a network of protection that guarantees not only that we will be able to do business with a positive impact model, but developing the region in a gift within its own gift. This is the minimum impact we generate, but there are many others. This is not just 1% of the biodiversity of the Amazon, of the over 5,000 fruits that we have running on. And for each active principle that we know there's pharmaceutical and 30 to 40 other things, including foods and biotechnology that can be developed. What I'd like to share is that this is possible already. This is done. But in scale for the Amazon, it means network, more and more. A network that ensures that in a world where you're going to have precipitation of carbon, where environmental services, as many of you have seen, Andre and others have mentioned, here, we're breathing. This has to do with the temperature here. And we're not in places where agriculture is still possible because volatility of the temperature is still in an acceptable parameter. The great role of Natura as part of this group and inviting the whole business sector to think in a way, one that changes it from a risk of deforestation for Brazilian image and the role we have seen from investors and companies, but more than that, in a power of biodiversity that is maybe one of the biggest opportunities for Brazil. And again, I'd like to reinforce that our role and after the release of the group's vision that has important data for the Amazon, including other goals, but it has inspired Natura's work. A commitment connected to the Amazon from the four companies of the group in a new commitment, not only of doubling our investments in assets in the forest, but to ensure by 2025 the highest efforts in networks for zero deforestation within the next 5 years. So when we assume this commitment, when we engage into this commitment, we call out, we call on a network of partners for an articulation of the business sector to be part of it and to create with the available technology and the one that can be potentialized as a network, a movement that truly changes us into a great opportunity, either for the Brazil we see today or the Brazil we want in the future. And that is not something I'd like to share Natura's experience. This is not impossible or unlikely. We have many examples of what is being done, and hopefully that's going to inspire us to do even more. That's the message. That's my takeaway message. It seems impossible to talk about positive right now, but a possible Amazon exists. It is even more possible. I'd like to see all Brazilians in this possibility. Great, Denise. I think the biggest delivery that Natura gives us. Well, I'm a great fan, so I'm suspicious here. But you guys have managed to change actually in a comparative a differential comparison into a competition element. So it is very inspiring. And I talked to friends the other day, and I dream with the data we have in Natura of transportation, of foods, of logistics, of craftsmanship in the Amazon because the potentialities in the region are huge. Natura uses I don't know, but a few dozens of products in the Amazon, but the power is incredibly higher for food, aesthetics, not to speak of tourism. So if you're able, just a word you use in the middle, like scale. That's the highest challenge in the Amazon. It is there. We know it is possible, but how can we scale that? So the experience from Natura is incredible. So here is a figure because you want to talk about that. We use 33 active principles that have, and we want to double that. But for each of these active principles, out of those 33 ones, there are over 6,000 molecules, potential molecules that can be developed that have been mapped for each discovery. Not to mention what the fungi, the processes, the probiotic, prebiotical for food. So when I say it is a treasure of biodiversity, that's exactly what I mean. The potentialities we have to solve world issues. This certainly, the Amazon has already solved that, and we can scale that. What a hopeful talk there. Very inspiring, and hopefully we're going to talk more and more for the people to inspire, and we reach this moment of convergence because actually talking to the walls it's been hard nowadays. So more experiences will come. So I'd like to see the experience that Regina Magalhães has to share. She is the manager of senior corporate executive in sales, digital transformation, and sustainability from Schneider. She's going to share public services cases, meaning energy in the Xingu Solar. I'm very curious here, and of course, Xingu always draws our attention, but solar, sun. as said by the by many colleagues here, Amazon is a very complicated region logistics wise. So spreading grids. I'm not an agronomer, but agronomic engineer, but spreading this to the Amazon. This seems to be kind of unfeasible for the region. But once again, Regina, the idea here is to listen to you. Thank you. Andre, thank you very much. I'm very glad to be in this group discussing the Amazon, especially in this hard moment we are living. So, only bad news on the Amazon, Pantanal, Cerrado. And in spite of that, just like Denise, I'm very optimistic because I think that these few initiatives, there are many other initiatives which are very important and they've been developed in the Amazon. They show the way, really, of another Amazon, of a possible Amazon, really. So they are creating new opportunities for Amazon communities and for sustainable development in the region. I'm going to tell on a project of Xingu Solar, but before, let me talk about Schneider. I don't think that is such a famous company, especially in the Amazon. So, for those of you who don't know, Schneider is a global company that was founded in France, and it is focused in industrial automation and energy management. We develop technologies we call 4.0 industry for all kinds of industries, infrastructure around the world. And the company, it's been many years, it's been 20 years, we set up two great purposes there. So they are in the base of our business model. These purposes are part of social projects, but ones that are basically they're the base of our businesses. The first is using digital technologies. Schneider's technologies are based on Internet of Things, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, automation, what we call really Industry 4.0. We offer to companies in different segments. Schneider's proposal is to use such technologies, such digital technologies, to make use of energy more sustainable, to reduce carbon emissions in the industry and infrastructure worldwide. We have goals to reduce carbon from our clients. We're completing in 2020 a 3-year plan, and we're reaching the goal of reducing then our clients based on the use of our technologies are reducing their emissions in 120 million tons of carbon. This corresponds in the Brazilian industry emits 100 million tons of carbon. So we're contributing to reduce worldwide the equivalent to what industries all over Brazil emit carbon wise. So the company has been playing a very important role that shows not only the importance that the company has been given to the climate change issue, it shows the potential that these technologies have towards promoting sustainable development. I've been speaking about this quite a lot. We have a great opportunity in our hands using digital technologies to make the world more sustainable. So, especially, this is a way to make companies get to use sustainability as part of their business model and to have good economic results, profit, while promoting sustainability, not only environmental, but also social, which is the second great purpose of the company. It is a company that works in the energy world, and we are working on the fourth industrial revolution. But the most aberrant thing here is that it's over a billion people people in the world that haven't reached the second industrial revolution because they don't have electric energy. There's no electricity. They live like in the 19th century. So we set out as a commitment to take energy, electric energy, and digital technology to those people. In Schneider, access to energy is a basic human need. Imagine if you live without electricity, how would our lives be, and how the lives of those people are? It has economic, social impact, health, in education, and the cases I'm going to mention, as we've seen in the Amazon, show how that impact is huge. And having access to sustainable energy changes the reality of those communities as well. So before that, I was speaking about Shingle later. I'd like to bring an example of the use of technology of the technology 4.0 in the Amazon. We've been speaking a lot about that. There are many initiatives, and it has a huge potential of change and of doing, as we were talking about, scale production based on the use of biodiversity sustainably, that you would gain scale and be the most important drive of growth and development in the Amazon. This year, we've just implemented a lab in partnership with the Manaus Technology Development Institute, a school of 4. Or Industry 4.0. We're training youngsters in Manaus to operate uh, uh, technology 4.0 info. They're using technologies and adapting those to the Amazon reality. Basically, there are three focuses of action here. So one is automation. Imagine the benefits of açaí, of mucunuba, all the products that Amazon can offer the world, produced using automation and more efficiently with lower carbon emissions and increased productivity. Another one is developing technologies. We've just released one globally, technological system that uses Internet of Things, blockchain, to track products from edge to edge. So we are able to track the source of our product from the community up until the supermarket, and we are able to ensure that the source of this product is certified, and we trust that the product was really produced sustainably by those communities, ensuring the proper profit for those communities, and using digital technologies to strengthen the community. And those technologies are accessible with the INDT in Manaus, and the idea is that the highest number possible in the Amazon can benefit from the technologies that are being developed and that the youngsters in the region. So now moving on to Xingu Solar, it is part of an energy access program. We want to turn energy into a human right. We want most of the population that doesn't have energy to benefit from this technology that is based for minimum conditions of quality of life. And it's been 10 plus years that the program is developed to have projects in 9 regions, 9 Amazon regions, including the Brazilian, Peruvian, and Colombian Amazon. Many communities, plenty of communities, where we implement sun energy programs. In the Amazon, in the Brazilian Amazon, there are over 2 million people that don't have access to any kind of energy. But there's a great deal of the Amazon population that has energy of two kinds. One that is distributed by big lines of distribution, which has a huge environmental impact, because building that in the middle of the forest is economically unfeasible and environmentally absurd, outrageous, because you have to deforest to build delivery lines. They always have issues, failures. If there's a storm that happens nearly every day, that will destroy and we generate a power outage. So this is a big problem. Or most of the communities generate electric energy via diesel programs. So there's a high cost. You have to transport. You have to displace diesel to those communities. It is high. It's very expensive. It brings pollution, risk of accidents to those that operate this. In the Xingu, that lives in a community within Xingu, and he used to spend nearly half of his salary to buy diesel to generate energy for the school. So this has a very serious impact. Sun energy reduces that cost. It allows for a stable energy offer We have a case in Manaus, in a nearby community in Manaus, Itumbira, Américo, that is where they use digital education, and the school at night they would just stop operating because there was no electricity for many years. That school was the only one that had classes every day because they had stable energy and safe energy. In addition, there was another impressive impact. The community and conservate the fish in salt, which is a traditional method of food conservation. But they realized that the rate of hypertension, of high blood pressure in the community was very high. And while using sun energy, they had refrigerators and they stopped using salt to conserve food, and that also helped improving health conditions of the communities. So, in addition, a community that where the main economic activity was logging, exploration of logs, they started exploring tourism. So see how impactful it is to implement a sun energy system, how much it can change the reality of a community. In the case of Xingu Solar, it is a partnership of Schneider with the Social Environmental Institute, the Consulate of Women. There, we implemented 30 sun projects in 30 communities, and the sun energy generates energies for schools, for um, health units and associations. It is a critical work, as we said before, starting the activity. Technology, if people first, if we promote a transformation, a cultural transformation process, if we promote education, so that people can understand use of technology, this technology can adapt to the reality of those people.
And so that they can make good use of such technology. So apart from implementing this technology, we also train everyone, and Schneider uses the partnership with Senai, and the community leaders are trained regarding electricity and energy and the maintenance of the system, so continue working with cost reduction in a way that they can operate the systems and uh, in, make them operate for longer. So it sounds relatively simple to have it all generated and take this and implementing this with the leaderships, but this has a gigantic impact on their life and the way they interact with the environment. Thank you very much, Regina. I couldn't agree more. I remember being in a community, I don't remember exactly where, but it was in Pará, on the day electricity got there. I was there on that day, and some people had bought paper cutters, so to throw paper in the air and celebrate. So this economic reality changed, the way they acted, stood up for themselves, and it had a deep impact. Bringing electricity for teaching, for production, for leisure, whether it is for the development of economical activities, it has a great impact in people's reality. This is a challenge we see everywhere, the way people connect. There are isolated communities. We can look at this as a challenge or as an opportunity for exploring new ways and make companies develop new roles. There are numerous learning opportunities there. Experience. So thank you very much, Regina. And as you were talking about energy, we've energized ourselves with this. We've received a few questions through the chat. I'd like to ask a general question here, and I'd like to listen to every one of you. Let's start with Fabio and use the same sequence we had before. And Denise, borrowing a little bit some of the you're mentioning the word scale. Yes, you are developing concrete results and contributing into people's life, but it doesn't really escalate this process for real. So the question for you is, from the private sector point of view, your companies, the your experience, what can we do as a society to make the Amazon more attractive? So to see people really and come and work, what can we do to have those processes to gain scale? Fabio, we can start with you. Nice, Andre. I'll start by talking about the Acai project. The main challenge we have today to escalate this process is logistics. When we say that, when we talk that, when we say we have a logistics challenge, we need to transport our productions everywhere. You have no idea how hard it is. There are a few solutions, and I've seen an app that was created there, something similar to an Uber, but it's regarding river transportation. There is a boat going down the river, and then you can transport your product because there is this boat there that would share a place for your product. So it it is good, and the energy is important because it's going to bring some advancement. People will be able to use machinery to operate their processes in the community and at schools. But at the advent of technology, it's going to make a big change. So connectivity may help a lot. When we think of logistics, we can't think of large infrastructure projects. We'll have to adapt to that region reality and be creative to create the low impact solutions that work. And another important point, and these may talk about it a little bit better, is the investment in research and technology. We need the research to be developed, and we need a look into its diversity. And the Amazon 4.0, there is a large unexplored potential in this. We need to invest in research. The acai seed, and talking about this, and I've seen Carlos Nobre talk about this, there is an oil inside that seed. It's worth much more than the fruit itself. And if well developed, the potential it has for cosmetics and drugs. You see, biotechnological investments are lacking still. Wow. I'd like to hear everyone else because there won't be much left for you to say. I'm medical. Well, now Fabio has touched an important issue. I'd like to complete with a public-private look into things. In order to reach the scale Denise mentions, no company has the ability to escalate public policies alone. If you just give a glance at all the money that is available for what we have to do, 330 billion reais is the demand in education for Brazil. In the last census, we've seen that we need much more than that, close to a billion. So we need the state to work, the government to work with the best practices. And this process is directly linked to the forest sustainability because we can use local knowledge. There is some ignorance regarding the local knowledge of communities and people. And sometimes I say that from the 10th floor of the building I work at, the solution is not going to come. There's a very seriated indigenous culture separated from any other culture, and we need to bring a solution to this, considering everyone else, along with the teacher and along with the community and the challenges they face. And why not consider the possibility that this contest brings to us? So the way we should work in four hands, public and private sectors together, developing policies together. This collective approach is going to strengthen all the business, whether they act in the education or not, but use this partnership speed and influence to develop the social aspect of projects. Not talking just about forest preservation. If there are people starving, there, it doesn't make sense because this discourse is far from reality. There are urgent demands that need to be addressed at the moment. So we need to create opportunities to them from the scientific development to profit the use of with the use of forest. And this is a way to understand how he can put food to the table in the family. And public private sector creating policies together, influencing people, and advancing from a scientific point of view. We have international investments pressuring everyone and willing to give money in exchange for efficient policies. We're talking about billions of dollars that want to be people want to be invested, but they're not putting any money because it's not reliable. The opportunities I see of collective work, the government and companies all together finding a solution together, and from this working with the forest conservation and the riverside communities. There is knowledge in those communities, empirical knowledge. We don't have that knowledge at all. So from learning together, we can build and come with a more comprehensive public policy for the forest conservation. Fabio has brought something interesting, and to bring scale to this is working together, not the government alone or the private sector alone or international funds. I cannot go without saying that the forest is ours. We need international support. I like this approach of working together, all together. It shows to bring significant advance, improvement, and I think this is a very important moment at this for this investment. Using the several different ecosystems and using this opportunity, we had never had this forest so discussed. We are looking at a cup that is half full. And from this tragedy we've faced recently, we need to address and drive and strive to improve policies. And from them, we can talk about conservation. That is very nice. You bring a point of view with which I agree a lot. I see a lot of people that the Amazon is very complex. Oh, well, it is. I don't like saying it is complex. And it is because the beauty lies in this complexity. We should not frame things, give it a city approach to a forest approach and put everything into boxes so that we can define things. It's not going to work. So we need to accept the complexity of the forest, and the beauty lies there, yes. And it's culturally diverse and ecologically diverse, climatically diverse, geologically. It's diverse in every possible way. There's not only one Amazon. This 1970s point of view, a blur on the map, that's not what we see today. And this is where the beauty of the forest lies. So I'd like to use what you said. And I see people trying to put the Amazon into boxes that are predefined. Theoretical people have defined, let me try to define Amazon as one thing or as another thing. It is actually boxes inside boxes, and at the same time, many boxes altogether. This simplistic, it's this very simplistic point of view does not encompass all this complexity that it has, because the solution resides in its complexity. It's not going to come from a large city like Sao Paulo with very narrowed models, mind models. You cannot just put the Amazon into one box. We'll never let it happen. So, Denise, you've advanced on this road of scale, and you've worked in partnerships. What do you think? Well, I am enjoying this diversity discussion a lot. We are trying to standardize processes in the world, and when we consider the process, we consider it marginal. The diversity is the key. Diversity is where the beauty lies. We've already mentioned the first one. We cannot work on this alone. Partnerships and business networks, just like the one we have right now, and articulated movements to take proposals on how we can do things, just like the coalition mobilization, for example, 10 principles on how to do things. This is what I would say the most. And so I fully agree that, yes, we need to develop this logical of Amazon 4.0 and the articulation of knowledge that is already in place there in the communities, and maybe a mindset that brings a management way that is already in the business, and we bring them into communities. So having 4 companies working together like these ones, for example, we could escalate this 10 times bigger. And this is the last thing I'd like to say. And I'd like to use words from the climate change. I see we always have this discussion regarding what is urgent and what is important. Urgent, and with deforestation and the burning of the forest, so that we can move forward to achieving things. And in parallel, potentializing partnerships, this integrated look towards the region and change, and with the implementation of a new perspective, and use the technologies all together as a network. We can send a drone for mapping. We don't need to send a person there to map anymore. We can control that. And people who are in the forest, they know how to do things. And maybe the response that we have to the doubts we have, the answers are right there. I think you said it. The beauty in it is its complexity. We don't need a standard world that has brought more inequality than equality. Responding to such initiatives, it has potentialized more than 9 billion people, and at the planet's expense. And I'd like to leave a message here. The Amazon needs to be, and we can do this through our products and services and our speech, the Amazon needs to be the desire of the Brazilians. It needs to be something we are proud of. And individually and collectively is a challenge. And it's a challenge for a group like this one we have today. I'd separate the emergency from the important, and I distribute it to people who can deal with each thing. How, for how long have we wished to have such a conversation like this? Like Amaro said, and like Fabio said, and Regina will probably say, this is the moment of articulation and turning a dream and separate projects into one big thing. Very nice, Denise. Yes, there is a paradigm. We need to look into it. And it's just not the Amazon, not Brazil. It's humankind. It does not add up. Another day, I was talking to my dad. Dad, I am very I understand that nature is going to expel us from the planet. But my father said he was concerned. I'm going to my call. I'm into calls every day. It's too easy. Um, I don't feel guilty because the nature is going to work its way. The one thing is, are we going to be together or not? Yes. Let's just remind that nature has extinguished many species, and we're probably on the run. Well, it's sending its message. Let's see. We managed to find a new model, and it is linked to respecting the signs, the beauty of life. Regina, just to add something, the planet is going to survive heat, the global warming, but we won't. The planet was and the planet will be. That's it. Regina, what do you bring to us? André? First of all, I agree with what everyone said regarding technology. We need to find the best way to know the Amazon. We need the network. But apart from being complex, the Amazon is huge. It is impossible to think of sustainable development of a region like this without intelligent structures. Sustainable infrastructure. The population that lives in the Amazon, it needs to have access to the best resources we have available and the best technology so that they can use it for the best way in a sustainable fashion. And I see two main factors. One is electricity. We need to take sustainable electricity to them, not diesel, not lines of distribution. We are not to build hydroelectric dams there. The regions that are generating solar energy, they have a benefit from the economical point of view from what we usually do in the Amazon. And it's not just the Amazon. This is about um, generating distributed energy. And it's happening everywhere in the world. It does not make sense.
It's got to be distributed in networks so you can have a proper infrastructure. Secondly, transportation. You transport people, products in this huge region, especially today in the Amazon. It is made via river. We have to stop building or even railways. This got to be used properly. But a waterway based that is diesel based. I mean, we're growing a lot. In Schneider, I'm responsible for automotive industry segment. In Brazil this year, the number of electric cars has grown by 200%. 2020, the pandemic year. So I dream to see electric boats around the Amazon, much more sustainable, much they are more economic with sun energy, right? That would be perfect. And it is feasible, right? We're not tripping here. We're talking about things that are being tested, analyzed, and they are economically viable, not only sustainable and more adequate to the reality of the region. In addition to that, we need a more adequate financial system to the Amazon. So it is very important that the big private banks have gotten together to think about alternatives for the Amazon. And the main alternative and the main contribution they can give is having financial systems and investment systems in place for microcredit for people based on the use of such technologies and on sustainable production. So if we have a good infrastructure, if we have a proper financing system, if we have proper education for those people, we have what it takes for a scale development process in the Amazon. Great, Regina. I couldn't agree more. I love the electric boat idea. Send me some references, please. I'm very curious. Yeah, I mean, not only boats that burning diesel in the Amazon, but it's so inefficient because they're old engines at low speed. There's a black smoke. It's very dangerous, so very hazardous. That noise, that unbearable noise, it's very hazardous. So yeah, this Amazon Bolts region issue is complicated. That's what we have, but this has to do with feasibility. So we have to rethink incentives and the industries of the future, so that little by little we can migrate. But I'm very glad to know that there are technologies. And today, with existing technology, there should be a decision in a line. In that regard, I'd like to make another round. Well, what a great chat here. Uh, well, I think we should move on in our conversation here. I think what all of you guys have said in this question connected to a dot, especially what Americo said. This is very clear. We have to work jointly in partnerships. We have to align the public power. Um, yeah, people that have the pen on their hands and can direct policies. Engagement from society is also important. This desire to learn and to venture in the Amazon. How we can understand this better within the language of the Amazon local potentialities. I mean, not helping him be what he wants to be, but helping him find ways and sectors of interest that can thrive. But there's an element there. There is the joint efforts. So I'd like to have some references from you guys. From you guys, how can we build that? The process of initiatives, corporate actions you guys experienced in the Amazon. What was the first sparkle? How did you connect interests to have everyone take the same path, walk the same path? Sometimes the relationship with the government can be conflicting. So Americo, I'm going to reverse the logics here. You are the ones that teased about these strategic alliances. How can you promote more partnerships? How can you break barriers to walk the same path, please? So I'm gonna tell you about my experience. So not necessarily is the expression of the truth, but that's how we learned to deal with that region. First off, I'm gonna talk about Vivo. When we decided to buy carbon credits, we researched well who was doing that by excellence, and we talked about the Red D Plus from the Jari Valley. It is a successful experience in the state of Pará. So we went to search someone that has successful experience to buy carbon credits. Within the education field, we have a partnership with the local actors. So the Vitória Amazônica Institute is our partner in that region. So we went for a local partner that is familiar with the region, with the surroundings. We invited the education department, and after talking to him, we customized the whole process of digital inclusion of the students of that geography. So our experience, there was people that were working, they were familiar with the forest of that region of the geography and the culture, and we discussed with them, and then we took the proposal to the education department, a flexible proposal. It wasn't a packaged proposal. It's something that we work on. As I've mentioned, it is part of the strategic line of the foundation to use local knowledge. So we asked what kind of important projects they wanted to run, and then we built a solution that was proper for that region. So just to contextualize, this project is used in other five geographies in Brazil, and no geography is like the other. So schools have approximately there are approximately 1,000 schools in Brazil. In the Amazon, there are 280 schools in Manaus. In Manaus, no school is similar to the other. So they use local experiences and partners. In the northeastern region, we have the Paramitas Institute. They are familiar with the region. We have Cesar in Recife that works with us in Pernambuco. So the construction of a development proposal, including those actors, in our experience, again, That's what we were able to learn over the last 5 years working in education in that region. So after people that were familiar of the geography and culture, and partnership with the state. So the state was important in the creation and advocacy of the public policy. We all of us walked the same path. So getting close to the education department was very important. I'd like to mention another project that Fabio commented here before. We have an entrepreneurial education program for youngsters, and we took it there to Belterra, a community near Santarém, and two boys came up with a mobile app where they sent the riverside communities information on the boat schedule, the timetable. So they could buy tickets from the schedule because before that they were not able to plan their to plan their day. They would wait for boats for 3 hours, and then with the app they were able to know what they could buy. They were able to plan their lives. So we used the experience of those boys. It's something so simple. First, he thought of they found a problem, how they wanted to solve that problem, how they would monetize that. So the app is on Apple Store and Google Play, and that's what it does. After, based on a local knowledge, a partnership with an institute, we provided information. So this is always built from these three pillars: someone that knows that region, that is familiar with the region, the people that have education experience, education proposal for that region, and the partnership with the state. So based on these three pillars, we build solutions using four hands. And now, buying carbon, we're doing that with excellence in the region, and we want to make it sustainable. Otherwise, again, it's going to be a nice project. It is a cool project. Um, it is a pet project. It's really nice. It's beautiful, but it doesn't change. It doesn't make any difference in that region from the standpoint of changing the scenario. So that's how we try to do it: bring sustainability and strengthen the territory. It's very nice and innovative because commonly people will read full of our own truths. These are my own truths, and we pack them in the baggage. And when you arrive there, your baggage has to be far from you. It doesn't mean anything. The Amazon is a set of new truths. If you are not open to listen and incorporate them, you're not going to endeavor in the Amazon, to venture in the Amazon. So the highest successful story in the Amazon, in my personal opinion, is understanding and being open to understand the region. You have to respect the knowledge of the persons that are in that region, the potentialities and the difficulties. Sometimes we're very arrogant. We have an arrogant view, and we have a solution. So yeah, there are topics to be covered, and I am disrespectful. I am disrespecting the locals. Yeah, then I close my eyes to see truths, and the local is the locals can see, but my mental sensors are not trained to detect that. But what a beautiful venture you got there. Denise, I'd like to hear from you. How can we form partnerships and how important partnerships are for success in the Amazon? So I'm going to start inspired by the talk we have here. We cannot miss what you don't know. So actually, we have this opening for knowledge, and most of what we develop is based on local development and from the local knowledge. So most of the technologies that we developed were is a learning from the management group, lessons from a management group in Pará that contacts those communities and that brought solutions. COVID was a great lesson for that because How can we guarantee, how can we ensure income for those communities, um, uh, while keeping them from bringing products from the plant, and then how, and then unthinkable things uh, come to our mind. How can you keep quality of the butter if it's hot? So I live in the middle of the river because it's more fresh. You just come in and pick it up. So most of this mentality, of this mindset, creating micro refineries that have then transport less, so it emits less carbon. Instead of delivering nuts, they deliver butter, so it has more added value to them. What was our role? It was simply helping with the mindset and creating, based on that local mindset, we created a cooperative which shares more benefits, and they have a potentiality to develop and keeping in touch with their children and the next generation in that location. But this is reused when we understand the solutions are connected to the ecosystem, and it is up to us to do something that is scaling. We do something we call franchise. We don't scale, we don't copy from one place to another. But there are a few things that after 10 years in the Amazon, you know that from Sao Paulo, you know where we know how the traffic is in Sao Paulo's streets. So you know where the Amazon, you study that, but something else is to know that the flow of life works before and after the rain. You cannot you have to manage the piece of information, but nature businesses are much more known and managed in the forest by the people that exist there, and that's our technology source. So local government actions to produce those partnerships based on the regional knowledge, and as Regina spoke, infrastructure that ensures energy, which is an important factor for the Amazon. What is this uh, mobility, this rethought mobility? We should not commit the same mistakes, new mistakes, please, everyone. So the old ones we have already learned from them. So if we commit new mistakes, we're going to get a shortcut. So if we talk to people that are familiar with the local reality, people that are ready for that, and then we can contribute with the business outlook, because we can more and more produce a process, and well, it helps engaging. We did that with partners. They talk to each other. There are other communities involved. That's how it worked. Maybe that's a good idea, and maybe we bring this network of trust with partners, health, Saúde and Alegria ICMBio networks that protect the region and protect knowledge nearly as a vector of change. Well, this can be done. It wasn't bad. It was great. So you create a network of positivity in this regard. And I still reinforce that again. Just imagine we have the possibility. We now have the possibility of sharing those lessons, to have the boat the Regina mentioned with the school model that was mentioned, and Fabio talked about the seed and what would be Amazon of biodiversity in the future. So we have to articulate in this regard. This is the moment to create what the economics of the last century wasn't able to. And the Amazon gives the possibility. It proves that that is possible. Cool, Denise. I agree. Amazon is a big school, but we're skipping classes. So we should have the discipline to go to school and learn from it. Paulo Montin makes a beautiful analogy with Alexandria. We're burning the books and we don't even know. There are great writings, great solutions for problems, beauties we've never seen. There's a saying by Fernando, yeah, the great Spanish chef. A few years back, he went to Berlin hidden, to Berlin hidden, but he had a habit to go to Belém in Pará, Brazilian state. He was hidden. He's a famous guy, etc. But he wouldn't tell anyone. And he went to a fair in Belém. Maybe it's the place of, in terms of diversity of flavors and textures, the most incredible place in the world. When I lived in Belém, I loved to go there. And I saw an interview of him, and he said, "Well, after visiting Belém many times, Amazon is the last tasting frontier of the planet, which brings a dimension of what that place has." This is from the standpoint point of a very specific chef that has a specific audience. If you think of a diverse economy, the Amazon is the last frontier for many things in the planet. So, for us to translate that into well-being, into quality of life for Amazon locals and the planet, we should rebuild the logics of interaction that we do with that region. And it's an exchange, really. This is very interesting because they know a lot, but they don't know everything. Over here, we know a few things, but we also have our drawbacks. So, yeah, then we it's a sum of resources. So with 5,000 fruit, 90% of what is there, you can even repeat the name. There are names I don't even remember anymore. We cannot do marketing here. There's an ice cream shop in Belém. The first time I went in, I said, "Well, It's going to take me a year to try out all the flavors because it's impossible. Because the next month or next year there were new flavors, and they invented a new ice cream flavor, so that was impossible. I couldn't test everything out. But now back to you, Fabio. I didn't comment on partnerships. Um, you mentioned many partners throughout this path. What can you talk about in terms of experience of building partnerships to find ways? What is your take there?
Okay, Andre. It's a very specific operation. It's a large investment as well. We have a few operations in the region. We have this Primavera factory I've commented. We have a port in Manaus. We also have a plant in Xambiwa in Tocantins. We have operations in São Luís and in Mato Grosso. Just to give you a few examples, the last plants that were built by Votorantim in 2014, Primavera and Xambiwa, are investments of more than 1 billion reais. It is a lot of money. And when we get to these areas, these are very small towns. We need to run diagnosis, and there are many senses on on understanding what the demands are and what does that community will need. And they're going to be our employees. We will interact with them. What are their demands? What are the real demands? And we also work with the government. We have an agenda that we call AGB, which is related to supporting the public initiatives. And with us entering and building, they collect a lot of taxes, and then it drops very fast once it's all implemented. So we have a concern regarding this increase in resource and then this drop down in a way that it's sustainable. And we need this in order to organize ourselves. And working with the community is important because it creates cooperatives of work, for example, with the one that is dealing with the acai seed. In Xambiwa, there is an initiative with income generation, and we decided to understand what Xambiwa would work with. We created a social gathering called Xambi Art. It's something related to bio jewelry. They create jewelry from seeds and from fruit in the region. We explore this local knowledge, and it brought to them a very different perspective, and these jewelries already is even exported. It's a great work of collective building of idea. This is very nice. So we are just confirming the thesis. The environment is difficult, it is challenging, but the solution lies on the integration and understanding of the asymmetries and difference in opinions. When what you say, Fabian, what everyone said to me, it stimulates the thinking and the understanding that we are facing a challenge and learning with the Amazon, learn what it has to teach us. Maybe we just need a little bit of solidarity to construct, to build everything collectively with the Amazon. And the pandemics is trying to teach us, but it's I think that the Amazon can teach us the same thing in a more delicate and nicer way. Regina, I'd like to hear you, but I think that you have the opportunity, just like Americo, of bringing the point of view that you have regarding the relationship with the government and all the procedures that are standardized by the government. And I ask you this because I don't remember who mentioned this, but regarding public policies in the Amazon, is a core point. We've come this far in this project, whether bad or good, but we've reached this point because of the public policies that were built in the last decades. I'm not going to get into past or fight the history we have, but there was a progression, and many public policies were implemented for the good and for the bad. But from now on, we need to build things forward. How do you see Schneider from the electricity and electric point of view? How do you see this strategic alliance? And I feel that there is appetite from the government and in the state of the Amazon, for example, of the Amazonas. They would like to get into this, but I think they're very careful. They don't really find the way. So I've said too much. I'd like to listen from you. Oh, okay. Of course, I think it's essential. At Schneider, we provide technology much more. The distributors of electricity are our clients, so our work is not directly regulated by legislation. Of course, we have norms that we have to follow, but there are technological patterns that we need to follow. But I see that governments all over the world, they have difficulty in adapting to new technologies. We are facing a problem from a positive and negative point of view, that the technology is advancing extremely fast, and society or legislation or the government, no one is responding rapidly to the advancement of such technologies so that the advantages of this technology can be used, and controlling the negative impacts they may generate. So I think it's an urgent matter, and it's for all governments, not only Brazilian. And it's a problem for everyone in the world, understanding this technological change and thinking of innovation and innovate the way they govern and legislate and regulate such technologies. I think it's of utmost importance. And talking a little bit more from a technological perspective, talking about partnership and networking. One thing we've learned at Schneider and in the area of the industry we play, we need to strengthen the partnership from the scratch of your business. And we work with open source concept of technology, equipment, software at Schneider. It connects with equipment from many other company, including competition. The technology is just so complex in a company. If the company does not offer a complete solution, they need to work with an ecosystem concept of technology, and they have to be adapted to local reality. And I'm going to give you one example with the partnership with IMDT. We have developed a lab, a fab lab, that is a, a young person who is studying technology. They can address a problem that they have in the community, and then the teachers and the technicians will help him or her into adapting this technology for them to use in their community. So this can be dealt as a community, but in the lab. A community in the countryside of the Amazon in Pará is producing something, for example. They can take that, they can bring the questions into the lab and work on them. And that means that you have to work with the concepts of adaptation and flexibility, and of having technologies that can work in an integrated fashion with our products and with the communities, so that this network can be really established. Yes, it involves articulation and education and dialogue and the opening to understanding the other. I excuse my corporate mistake I'm making. We've spent 2 hours talking, I think, but it felt like just the first half an hour. So spending 2 hours with you, we couldn't even notice. We were just having a chat, and all of a sudden I receive in the chat, oh, we only have 10 minutes. We have to come to a conclusion here, but I think this was excellent. Okay, Renata, getting back to you. Possible Amazon is just showing some results. So I'd like to thank you very much. Denise, that's true, Andrea. Isn't that so? Hey, this is some important delivery we had here today, the relevance of people that were here with us and the modern point of view, what we are doing here. Don't be mistaken. This is not just a simple chit chat. This is the bringing of elements and philosophical drops, a different approach, a different look, a more technological and more modern approach towards the nature we live in. This is a new paradigm we have to face sooner or later. Just like the story I told you about my dad, we are going to either collapse or rebuild ourselves in a different way. There are different ways of doing this, but this is all about coexisting with nature. Nature is there for itself, or we are part of it. We are not dependent. We don't have the ability to influence nature as much. We need to exercise our humbleness. We are part of it. The Amazon brings lessons, delivers messages, and teaches the whole humankind. If you allow me 2 or 3 minutes more, I'd like to leave a provocation, and I don't have an answer for this. We are in the week of the New York climate. This is the New York Climate Week, a moment of polarization and very strong opinion and etc. But, well, I'm from the state of Minas Gerais, and I'm optimistic. The solution for the Amazon surpasses, and I'm going to give this to the audience. It surpasses investment, corporate investment, enhanced structures, telecommunications. It surpasses economy that needs to be customized for that region. There are so many things that people can invest in. Electric boats, so many things we've mentioned here. We will need a ship full of money to advance with this agenda. We are convinced that this agenda is important. So we all know that this is an expensive agenda. It depends on politics and investment. We will need a lot of money to make this dream come true. But on the other side, we are talking about a country that is still under development, and with this pandemics, we suffered a little turbulence, and it's going to take some years for us to get back on track. But if we look at this region, which is so rich and needs the investment to prosper and grow, and a country that is facing economic difficulties, we need to understand how to get there. But there is this third element, which is the value of the forest. When people criticize we are burning the forest, or there's this friend of mine that comes and tells me that I'm not doing my job, I have uh, opposite feelings. I see everything on TV, I see it on the news, but on the other side, I feel comfort because I see there is interest in this region. People are interested, and this means that people some maybe needs to buy actives and invest. So we have this region, the Amazon, that is it attracts investments. We haven't been able to monetize from it and profit or make money from it. Oh, let's say, for example, carbon. It's just so complicated working with this credit and purchase of carbon. There's a lot of argument. But water, for example, there's no argument. Ipon has been studying water, as you say, and we already know that the precipitation cycle is decreasing. It decreased 1 week in August. If it decreases more, we are going to have a very poor season, the second season, because we can plant twice a year. We need that rain to produce this second season. If we keep on affecting the rain with so much deforesting, we are going to affect our production capacity, and then we are going to have other problems. Another way of looking at it is the cup as being half full. We are allowing economic growth, and because they are buying food from our country. Is there a way to balance this? I don't have the answer for this question, but in my mind, I think that it has some intrinsic value. If we index water and with the food that is being served in the world, maybe we can try to revert this recognition regarding the importance of Amazon. Maybe we can add this to the food that they buy. Then it's going to leverage gainings with the Amazon earnings. So I'd like to thank you, Renata, again for the enormous opportunity you've given to us. Again, with possible Amazon, I'd like to leave this provocation because we have a long way to go. We have great experiences, yes, we do, but this is a promising path. We are going to improve as companies and as human beings, and we need to follow this path. There are proper ways, whether technological, political, and public policies, and there are economical, financial ways. From my point of view, is that we need to create value which can be recognized and monetized, well-used monetization, so that we can put the Amazon in the track of development for the country. So once again, Renata, thank you very much. Thank you, André. It is good to know that we have men and women that are making the difference. Thank you, Arapiauí Institute, for this opportunity. Thank you very much, everyone. Fábio, Amédio, Denise. It was a great pleasure. Bye-bye. Bye.